Have you ever asked yourself why Safaricom is called Safaricom? If you go to neighboring countries, in Tanzania, it is called Vodacom Tanzania Limited. Same in Uganda, even in DRC. But you will see that Safaricom, it is written the name Safaricom, and there is that circle that is borrowed from Vodacom. Now the question is, why did we have Safaricom and not Vodacom like our neighboring countries? This is the secret. Kenyans are very clever. I have already talked of how Merali sold shares in today it's called Airtel. He sold the shares and made billions within half an hour. Kenyans are very clever that they can make billions, if not millions, in seconds while they think properly. First of all, before I go to that, I want to repeat that Merali was a shareholder in Kensel. He was a shareholder in Kensel. And when the other major shareholder wanted to sell the shares, he used the clause that is in the agreement. And in all companies, if you want to sell your shares, you have to talk to the other shareholders first. It's called a preemptive right. Preemptive right, whereby you first of all approach your co-shareholders and tell them, I have 20% shares and I want to offload all or some of the shares. Is there any active shareholder who wants to buy my shares? It is after you have exhausted clearing with the internal shareholders that now you can go to the market. So Merali agreed with Celtel. Merali had already agreed with Celtel, who gave him a loan, and then that loan is what he used part of the money to pay the other shareholders in Kensel, and the company was changed to Celtel Kenya, and later on it was changed to Airtel. On the part of Safaricom, initially we had this Kenya Post and Telecommunication. Kenya Post and Telecommunication split into various groups, and we had Telcom Kenya Limited. Now Telcom Kenya Limited had both landline and mobile number. The mobile number was 072. Yes, 072. And then your numbers. But when Safaricom was started, then it was changed to 0722. But during that time, there was landline and there was mobile. They run by the same company. So when all indication, these people have connections in the government. That is why when we have a campaign, these billionaires invest a lot in our politicians, because when the politicians have taken over, then this person will automatically win a lot of tenders. So what happened was Safaricom had, what happened was that somebody knew that Safaricom was trying to reach out on Vodacom. So this fellow opened a few companies. Two of them were called, the first one was called Vodacome Kenya Limited. Vodacome Kenya Limited, and another one was called Vodacome East Africa Limited. The intention was, when the government wants to turn its, having connection to government, you know what is happening. So they knew that they wanted to turn the mobile part of it. The telecom was to remain with the landline. Of course, telecom later opened the telecom, the blue colored whatever. But at first, they had this mobile, which they wanted to turn it into an independent company. And they were reaching out for Vodacom. So somebody came up, rushed to the registrar of company, and registered these companies with several names that would be Vodacom. And he knew that even if telecom would, Vodacom in Uganda, they bought a mobile company from Uganda Telecoms and called it Vodacom Uganda. Same to Tanzania, DRC, and other countries. So somebody knew that somehow Vodacom will come to Kenya, and even if they don't use the very same name, but so long as there is a name Vodacom, it will be breach of company. So when things were now at a point of no return, Vodacom signed with the Telcom that they were to take over the mobile arm of it, the cell phone arm of the company. Now this Vodacom Kenya Limited wrote to Vodacom, where it comes from, and also wrote to Telcom Kenya and offered that I have a license of the name Vodacom Kenya Limited. Now we can negotiate. Let us negotiate for me to transfer. You see, there's nothing like selling shares. In business, you transfer shares. So can we talk so that we transfer shares to you people, and we resign as directors and you appoint your own directors? Let me give an example. Registering a company, at that time, was around 150,000. And it was possible, if Vodacom and Telcom would have agreed, they would have sold, those shadowy fellows would have sold it at 150 million shillings. But then, they came down and reasoned that now Kenya is a country of safaris, Masai Mara, and so on. So they said, why can't we start a company calling Safari, then Safari Communication? Safaricom is Safari Communication. And then the company was registered. And since Vodacom had a large share in it, they used the SACCO for Vodacom to place it on Safaricom. As for that intellectual who had thought ahead of time, alichukua hiyo karatasi akaenda kuashia jiko. Now you know why in Kenya we have Safaricom and not Vodacom Kenya Limited.